Hello from Denmark. Let's start. A very warm welcome to all of you to our webinar today about Danish manufacturing industries with a specific focus on by far the largest sector, which is metalworking and machine building. This sector is characterized by high quality, high productivity, high export ratios. However, on the other hand, the Danish producers have to deal with a big pressure of extremely high production costs and also an increasing competition from abroad. So a trend in this sector for many years now has been to shift the focus from selling high-cost products to even more increasing productivity, mainly through automation, robots, digitalization, and also to form new partnerships with subcontractors, mainly with companies from other EU countries, in order to push down the manufacturing cost and at the same time live up to the quality standard. So in this slide, the goal of the seminar or webinar today is to uncover export opportunities for Estonian subcontractors and to give you very concrete tips and recommendations on how to enter the market and or increase your sales in case you're already present here. My name is Lucie Fallesen, and I'm the Enterprise Estonia's export advisor in Denmark, and I'll be the host and moderator of today's session. Before we get started, there are a few practical things I need to mention. This is the first Danish webinar we're hosting, so I hope everything goes smoothly. If not, please bear with us. This is quite a different exercise than the typical seminars we usually organize in Estonia. I know there should be about 50 of you behind the screen. I cannot see you, I cannot hear you, but I know you're there. And I hope I can engage you as much as possible in this session. Your microphones are by default muted and you cannot use your cameras, but what you can do in order to ask questions, you can use either the chat function or the Q&A function. It should be at the bottom of your Zoom screens. I'll be keeping an eye on the questions when they come in, and I'll be posting them to the right panelists at the right time. Another thing is that this seminar or webinar is being recorded, and it will be available for viewing afterwards, as well as all the presentations will be available for download in a link you'll be sent after the webinar. In order to keep your attention, I hope not to use much more than 1 hour here today, and we are very busy. We have fantastic speakers lined up here with deep market knowledge who can't wait to share it with you. But before we get to their presentations, I would like to start with giving the word to our Estonian ambassador in Denmark, Mr. Mart Lanemaa, who was so kind to agree to give us a brief overview of the current Corona situation in Denmark, and a few words about what is the exit plan and opening up plan. And I know we could easily spend the entire webinar just talking about how the industry has been impacted or will be impacted by the Corona crisis, and I don't want to do it, but I think it's important just to let you know what is the situation, and then it may be some of the speakers later on want to bring it into the context of the industry in question here. If they find it relevant, they will do it. But yeah, you probably are familiar with the program, and I think Mart, if you're ready.
Yes.
We'll turn to you.
Great. Thank you. Good morning to everyone. Welcome to our webinar here. And Denmark is a very rich market, but it is small. So this means that the Danish companies are all global. And so it means global situations have an impact on Denmark. You can access the whole world working together with Danish companies. But in a case like the coronavirus crisis, this also has an impact not only on Denmark, but on all Danish companies' activities worldwide. Now, the situation with the coronavirus in Denmark is more or less on a per capita basis like Estonia. There are the numbers are higher, but it's the same level as in most of the Nordic countries, and in Estonia as well. We have reached the peak already on April 2nd, so that has an effect on the exit or the reopening of society, which I'll explain in a minute. And the important thing to know is that there has been substantial aid packages provided by the government, which is a total of 16.2% of the GDP, and there are probably some more coming. And the idea is to maintain the Danish economy and society and keep people working or maintain their jobs throughout the crisis, because a large part of the Danish society and economy has been reduced or shut down, and the importance is to keep them going. So the second slide will show the reopening. We are reopening here in Denmark in 4 phases of 4 weeks each, and now we have reached phase 2. Right now, as has been for some time, you can move around in most of the Denmark. You don't have to stay home, but groups of over 10 people are not allowed. And the social distance as of this week is 1 meter. It used to be 2 meters. So the opening is very similar to what is going on in Estonia. Very important is to know that the border is closed for most people until at least June. And this means that tourism and business travel is mostly not possible. We don't know the date of the reopening yet. This we hope to know by the end of the month. Starting next week, restaurants and cafes will be opening again. They have been closed for almost 2 months. And starting from June 8th, which will be the next phase, it will be possible to meet in groups of up to 50 people, and a lot of open air facilities will open. But important to know is that events with more than 500 people, so this means large festivals, and it also means most trade fairs, are not allowed until the end of August. And at that point then, from September, Denmark should be reopened. So you can use this calendar to plan your possible contacts with Denmark in the future. I wish you a very good webinar today. Thank you for joining us, and great success working together with Danish partners.
Thank you very much, Matt. And I hope you'll stay here with us for a bit longer in case there are some more questions later.
Yeah, I'll be here the whole time.
Thank you. Next one, we have Bo Stermos. Bo is a very good friend of Estonia. He's been an Estonian honorary consul here in Denmark for many years. At the same time, he's a chairman of the board of Juliana, a company which produces greenhouses. So he also has very relevant industry knowledge for us here. So Bo, we look forward to hearing your input now. If you manage to turn on your video and unmute your microphone.
Yeah. Is it okay now? First of all, thank you to Enterprise Estonia for taking this initiative. Ever since I became an honorary consul, I have been very surprised that the trade between our countries is so little as it is. So there's really room for improvement. And it's not surprising that the trade is relatively small. it's obvious that all countries will start out with the nearest markets, and I know that Finland is definitely #1 market for we start the video. Is that better? There's room for improvement, but it's obvious that most countries will start out with the nearest neighbors, and therefore it's not surprising that the main partner for Estonia is Finland, and #2 is Sweden. But I have to say Denmark is not that far away. It only takes a day or two for transport to get stuff from one country to another. If we look at Denmark, we of course also have the nearest markets as our main markets. It's Sweden, it's Norway, Germany, and the UK. But just as an example, about 20 years ago, we started up having a focus on the potential on the US market, and during the past 15-20 years, US has become the third largest export market for Danish companies now. So it is possible to build up also markets which are a little far away if you see potential. And I'll come back to that. I really think there's a big potential for Estonian companies to go to Denmark. But first I will just mention a little bit about my own company. Juliana Greenhouses is a Danish-owned family business, which is founded in 1963. And I was the second generation, and I passed the torch to my son 4 years ago. So this is now the CEO of the company, and I am the chairman of the board. Juliana Greenhouses are making small greenhouses for private gardens. You see 2 examples here. We make greenhouses from aluminium and glass, and we also have a factory in the UK making very, very exclusive products made from Canadian red cedar. In addition to the greenhouses, we also make garden rooms, because there's a strong trend in this country and coming up in the rest of Europe, where people are not only using the greenhouses as a greenhouse, but they also use it as a garden room, a place to be, especially with the weather we have this regions, and I'm sure it's the same for Estonia. It's nice to have such a climate sherm to be under when it's raining or when the wind is blowing. So there's a huge market also for people who are not keen gardeners, but just want to have a place so they can sit outside being inside at the same time. We have had relations with Estonia for many years. We sell our products in Estonia. And we also, during the time, tried to find suppliers. We use some sub-suppliers, but I must also say that the trend for both our company and other Danish companies is that for 20 years ago, we outsourced an awful lot of products, mainly to the Far East. But nowadays, the trend is that we try to get things back. And as Lucie just mentioned, our cost level in this country is very high. So it means we can only do that if we invest in automatization. And that's really what we're doing. In our company, we are now buying in the first robots. And we have really invested a lot of money in the production. So we employ relatively few people in the production, but that allows us to produce in this country. But having said that, I still see a big potential for sub-suppliers from Estonia, but I also see a big potential for finished goods coming in from Estonia. Just to last but not least, we also have a production of mailboxes, and all the mailboxes are actually produced in the Baltic countries. We have sometime imported, have had mailboxes made in Estonia, but now the majority comes from Lithuania, unfortunately. But when we look at the market potential, I think we should make a main distinction between finished products and export as a sub-supplier. If we look at the finished products, I think you have in Estonia a strong tradition also to have products made which have design qualities. And here I often see that the taste, it seems that you are very much influenced by the Finns. But of course, you also have developed your own products. And I'm very surprised that it has not been possible so far to export more Estonian finished products to a country like Denmark. And when you look for importers, I think you should take two things into account, not just looking at selling your own products, but also try to find partners in Denmark who might have products which could be of interest for you to market on the Estonian market. So I think such a partnership could in many cases be very beneficial for both parties, and it's also a better relation when you have a kind of cooperation instead of just a sales and purchasing situation. When we are talking about sub-supplies, it's obvious that that will normally be more a pure sales buy situation. But I still think that there is a market, and there are a lot of Danish companies who still have sub-suppliers from all over the world. So I think it's a very good idea to look at Denmark, and I'm sure that Enterprise in Estonia can help you to get the right contacts. The ambassador mentioned a few of the things, but my point is also that we are a small country, but we have a good purchasing power. We are a relatively rich country. We have a homogeneous population. Most of us have the same taste. We like good design. We like quality products. And there are also people out there who are ready to pay for it. And last but not least, I think you will realize when you come to Denmark that there's a very positive attitude to all the Baltic countries. I have not met any Danes who are negative towards the Baltic countries, and especially Estonia has a very good goodwill in this country. Most people know that our flag comes from Tallinn, and that story is something we all learned at school, and that is also one of the reasons why I'm sure that if you start to work with us, you will feel welcome. So just come on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bo, for the positive talk. Very nice. So now we're going to switch to our next speaker, which is Jeppe from the Confederation of Danish Industries. It is a private organization with about 11,000 members, and the manufacturing industries is the biggest member association with about 2,000 members.
Yes.
We have.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good. And welcome to not my office, but as many others in Denmark, I'm working from home today, and so I'm and so is my wife. Fortunately, as Mart said, we're opening a bit here, so we now have our 5-year-old kid who is at school, and we can start working more. And I suppose this, Lucie said, this is the first time you do this kind of thing with a webinar, but I think we in the Confederation of Danish Industry have learned to do this now over the last weeks. Hopefully, even if the world opens, we will learn also that we can do these kind of things also going forward. There's a lot of benefit for that. We are a very large organization, as Lucie said. I have a few slides about who we are, and I want to show you a bit about what outlook we have at the moment. I think that would interest you also about what is happening with the industry in Denmark and what the outlook can be. This is our building that you see here in the middle of Copenhagen. We're actually and perhaps I should say also start to say that I've been working for 20 years in different companies, small and large in Denmark. Larger like Confederation and Carlsberg and BK Holding, and smaller like Solar Cap and Solarventi, Flensburg Partners and others. And there are some both in Denmark and abroad. And I must say I agree with what Bo and Mart also said about there's a connection between the Baltics and especially Estonia and Denmark, and we can feel that in this building. There's a lot of activity that is happening here. We have a lot of events with the ministers, officials, and also private parties that come to meet, and it is a meeting place. So a lot of our activities is helping industry meet each other across the borders. And we also see ourselves a bit as a hub when the Baltic countries opened. I remember this myself very vividly, and many of us do. We were very happy and emotional about it, and that's also why we it's not a responsibility for us. It's just natural to also work with colleagues in Estonia. And yes, there is a lot of similarity. It's very easy for us to work together. It's very easy for us to find customers together outside in the big world, because, as was also said by Mart, we are a big exporting country. 52% of our GDP is directly export. And many of our members do that, in fact. If I go through a bit quickly about who we are the largest employer organization in Denmark. We represent 57% of salaries that are organized from the employer side. The Association of Danish Construction, Dansk Byggeri, is also looking to merge. We are trying to find out whether the members would like to merge with us, so we become even bigger. And in Denmark, we have maybe it's worth saying also for you to understand, in Estonia, for those of you that are not familiar, we have a very special labor market system in Denmark. We don't have a Ministry of Labor as most countries have, but the parties, so the employers and the employees, actually have a system whereby they make all the agreements between them. And they actually also enforce them between them in a sort of a private side, not public. So if you don't adhere to the laws that we agree to with each other, we also go to labor courts that are outside of the public side. And we've done this for many years, more than 150 years. And it's been part of the success that employers and employees actually go together and are flexible in how you handle also crises like this. You heard Mart talk about the big packages that we have sent to stimulate the economy, to make sure that people are still employed in Denmark. This is actually something that Dansk Industri and the employer organizations have urged and have helped the government to do in this flexible system in reality, and that works really well, both when things go well and when things don't go so well. You will learn that when you know to get to learn the Danish companies. They're very flexible in that way. As also was said, we have 11,000 members. Most of them are international in some way. Denmark is too small, so is Estonia, I suppose, for most of the manufacturing companies. So we have a lot of employees, 1.4 million employees, whereof 1 million of them are abroad. So within those 11,000 companies. Most of them, as was said earlier, are manufacturing within the manufacturing industry. And then we have trade and knowledge services. Knowledge services is a lot of those are IT and software that is growing, in fact. But trade has always been a big part of what we do. And in fact, I also agree with what Bo said that about finished goods, that I think there's also a big opportunity not only to serve the Danish market, but through the Danish trade, perhaps also serve the world with products from Estonia. And of course, so there's a lot of opportunity, I think, in this regard. Most of our members are smaller companies. Most of them are small and medium enterprises, and you will find that as well. Of course, most people know the big ones, but in reality, there's a lot of opportunities in the small and medium enterprises because they are also sub-suppliers to big industries around the world. When we look at where we export, the biggest markets are Germany and USA. In fact, Germany was for many years #1 for Denmark, but now the USA is the largest export market for Denmark. And to be fair, the proximity to Germany has been really a big gift for the Danish economy. A lot of the sales that we do to Germany is really not, let's say, actively pursued from Danish companies. It's really German companies looking for sub-suppliers around the world and finding Danish suppliers to be very reliable. And in fact, continuing that chain, that is a good way for you to come into the German market or to the American market or to other markets where we are. In order to open these markets, we have a very long, very open tradition, a tradition for open borders and trade with most countries around the world. And I would urge you, of course, here to take advantage of that. There's a lot of commonality here. We do political interest, we do advisement, we do networking, we help our companies to grow around the world. And we also have our own offices around the world where we promote and actually help also our members also with basic establishment, making daughter companies or hiring people where they need to go. Why do I mention this? Well, really, it's another way of saying that many of our members, if they would like to go abroad, even if they see opportunities with foreign partners in the supply chain, they can do that quite easily in most places. And there, when you look at it, I didn't bring that today, but when you look at risk aversiveness and things like that, I think Danish culture is known to be, of course, we don't take risks that are not that cannot be handled, but we're not afraid of going to new markets. We're not afraid about being flexible and adaptable and going into new markets, and that's also something you can use in Reality, where we can go together, open new markets around the world.
Jeppe,
yeah,
this is Lucie, and I have received a question.
Yes.
About export. How has the export, Danish export to the US been affected by the crisis, mainly during April and March? Do we have any knowledge about this?
We don't have the latest numbers from April and March. We have some anecdotal. We have made a study with our members to try and figure out, in general, how it's going. And it's not, let's say, it's not looking that good for some of the sectors, but other sectors have been relatively undisturbed. When you took a look at manufacturing, it's one of those that at the moment seem to be relatively undisturbed. We have. I just spoke this morning also with a company that said I asked the same question, and we often hear that within manufacturing there is the orders that were already in the book are being made. The problem is the outlook. So for manufacturing, there's a lot of the outlook that has been stopped. So we are seeing now in May, and the first indication is that we're now seeing a bigger dip there as well. But it's different because it's some are also experiencing, I will show that in a minute, some are experiencing, especially in the US, also higher need for input. They are looking at all kind of ways to make a supply chain to make new medical equipment, and we're also part of that in Denmark. So some sub-suppliers are looking certainly to make parts that they've never done before, and see an increase. I have a slide about that in a moment. I'd like also to show this that probably you know already, and Bo alluded to it also, that the largest part of the exports from Estonia to Denmark is semi-manufacturer, and again, finished goods, as I said, could also be an opportunity here. But we already do a lot together, and there's for us a big incentive to do more. We see Estonian suppliers as very reliable, easy to work with. This common culture, you should not underestimate that in this context. It's sometimes easier. The ability to be flexible is sometimes what we get in Denmark more business from than the ability to make a very big, large orders. So the ability to scale up or scale down and to change and to adapt is extremely important for many of our exports. Here is a graph I was just alluding to, Lucie. Unfortunately, it's in Danish, it's very new, but I will try to explain it very quickly. What we see here from many of our SMVs, but also the larger companies, is that there are different things that is happening under the crisis, just after the crisis, which is something is happening where we're in between those two areas at the moment, and then hopefully what will happen after the crisis. In some markets, like the US, we have some companies that see that there is a dip at the moment, but they know that it will start again in the future. The dip is not so dramatic for most, but it will start in the future again. There are also a lot that see a lot of increased, especially within IT products at the moment, and sub-supplies to that. And plastics, this area, we see a lot of increase. What we don't know is whether it will follow this curve and sort of go down again, because it was just something that they do earlier because they want the investment, for instance, medical supplies and so on, and whether when they have all stocked up, there will be a dip, or whether it's actually because they will do a new market and have a higher market share. Then we should not underestimate this green line, which seems flat, but the problem, or not the problem, but what we often see is there are new ways, and I need to mention that also for you here, new ways of doing sourcing. It's no longer, going to exhibits and meeting each other. Sometimes it's much quicker. It's over marketplaces, online marketplaces, or online. And this is something where Danish companies perhaps could learn also a bit from Estonia. We are not traditionally very good in B2B online commerce. I know that some of the suppliers in Estonia are much better, and that's certainly a way of cooperation I see and development between us and Estonia going forward. We also see some companies that just can't handle the situation right now. Of course, we mentioned here restaurants and anything that has to do with tourism and so on. And many of them will not survive this crisis, even with all the help that we have. And so some areas we see a big, and some of our suppliers, of course, are also supplying material to airplane manufacturing and so on. And they will have to look at other ways to in the future to accommodate. This slide I also took because about the outlook. The outlook is we need even more flexibility. We need to be even more creative about how we actually find new markets and new customers. As you see here in the background, I don't know if some of you recognize that we also put in the Sustainable Development Goals wheel. And the reason for that is the UN Sustainable Development Goals have been for many years driving now in Denmark a lot of the activities about being sustainable. And we see a lot of the new opportunities and new markets after the crisis also being sustainable. So any way where you can help our supply chain to be even more sustainable in whatever way it is, will help also place you better now and in the future. I have one last slide here before sorry, I probably went a bit over time, but and that's also in Danish, I'm sorry, but it's very new. It's really from a few days ago, and this is about where we see the exports going over the coming years. There's been a big setback with many of our companies, also in the manufacturing. Not so much the US, but very much in Germany. It was a big fallback there. In most European markets, which is most of our exports are inside the EU, and they're not very good at the moment, these European markets. And what we see here is the question was when do you see that your export will be back again? And most countries, or most companies will say that it would be by the end of 2021, so by the end of next year. But then many of them, 30%, will say it will wait till 2022 before they're back again. So there is you could say this is also to maybe manage your expectations about the markets over the next couple of years. It is a struggle for many of the companies. Some of them will have to find new ways in order to survive the next couple of years, or adapt, be flexible about the scaling. Many of them will come back quickly as well. So my advice for you is really to feel the pulse, and as I said, also as Bo also said earlier, don't be afraid to reach out to companies. Right now, it's actually quite easy. Send an email. Let's have a webinar instead of actually meeting physically, and I'm sure you'll get a lot of help from Enterprise Estonia also to find the contacts. So that was all from my side. Is there any other questions, Lucie, now or?
Yes, but we have a few questions. So I can read one question here. It's about supply chains from distant markets. Are they as relevant as they used to be before the crisis, or the flexibility is now more important than the price? What is your take on that?
I think that's a very good question, because flexibility is now important everywhere in this crisis. I think people are understanding that there's a disruption in the supply chains. So and you see also some of our members are complaining or are already seeing that because they were using Chinese or Indian sub-suppliers, they are no longer there. So they're looking for an alternative right now. So there are, I think on the sub-supplier basis, there is yes, flexibility is important right now. And alternatives are welcome in reality.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. This all was very interesting and very much up to date. I think we can use it to get a better understanding of what to somewhat expect. No one really knows what, but very good analysis you have done there. I had a question, but you partly already answered it, and that was my very hand-on when reaching out to Danish companies, how prepared they are to be online and to engage these new virtual meetings. So you mentioned that they are maybe a little bit behind, but they realize they need to catch up on this front as well.
As you saw, and maybe I'd like to comment on that, because as you saw from the slide earlier, we have offices around the world, so we can see how different cultures are, how well they are right now to adapt to the sort of the online meeting. And if we take an example, one of our biggest export markets in Germany, that is very difficult. Germany is really difficult. Many employees don't have a laptop. They don't have a own mobile phone. They are sent home, cannot go to work. And so there's a lot of things that sort of are held back that way. Most people in Denmark have a home working place and have internet. And but they've never really used it as a let's say a working tool as much as they do now. And in fact, many of them are saying it's really good, and we have better efficiency, we have better way of communicating and connecting. And so, yes, now I think you will see an increase of use in this. And I remember from my Estonian colleagues in Carlsberg when I was working there a few years ago, many years ago, that you were already much further advanced than we were. But now we're getting up to speed, and I would urge you to just reach out also on the on video, and most people now in Denmark are on board on that. Yes, that's one of the big
Very
benefits from the Corona.
That's what I can see as well. Yes. Okay, we have a couple of more questions. I think we can try to take them now, and it's both for you, Jeppe, or maybe some of our other speakers who know someone. It's going back to the crisis, the Corona crisis. So, what kind of governmental support the manufacturing companies in Denmark has been getting or will get? Maybe briefly about it.
Yes, I mean there's a few packages. Without going into too much detail, but there's a few, especially the first packages were about the ability to keep employment while you are flexible. So there would be a sort of part of the salary would be paid by the state subsidies in order to make sure that you don't fire the employee. And in reality, it's about keeping as many as possible inside the working force, because we have an idea this is temporary. So the idea about getting out of the working force and then hiring again can be can be very bad when you want to grow again. So we're expecting all this to be temporary, and a lot of the packages are meant for that. As I said, there's some industries, and especially sort of the manufacturing and all the producing industries were very early on helped in this regard. But there was a lot of other service industries and tourism industries and so on that have put packages on now. And what we are looking at these days right now is about exports, because it is the biggest Achilles heel. We cannot get people back to work if there's no export for us. 52%, as I said, of our BNP is export. So we have I think more than 800,000 employees in Denmark only working for exports. So for us, it's a big priority. So we will see in the coming weeks, I think, in reality, the packages in that direction.
Very well. If someone is more interested in this topic about what are the support packages, we can please contact me or the embassy, and we can prepare. We can give you a good overview, or actually we do have an overview, so we can also put it, make it available for the downloads among the other presentations. So then you have it more concrete. And one question that's been pending here for a while, very concrete, is about the borders closed. Is it possible to transport workers to Denmark from other countries?
That's a very good question. I do a lot of that work myself, as you know, our business services to our members is to help our members with exactly that. And this is a very fluid situation at the moment. So when you're at the border, and if you are a foreign citizen and coming to the border in Denmark, you have to prove that you actually have something to do in Denmark, and there's a reason for that. So if you have a need for workers to come to Denmark, if it's service workers, it's often service at the moment that we see a huge problem with. So if you have machines that have been sold to Denmark and you need to come and somehow help them work again, or that kind of thing, that is the most urgent. Then I would urge you to take contact to the company that you have contact with and make sure that they have the latest rules. We will support the Danish companies in all the documentation they need to have in order for your employee to get into the country. But you need to do it on a case-by-case basis, because there's no real general rule about it. The other thing you have to consider is Estonian law, because when you come back again, we have a case from our point of view, a company that wanted to go to Austria, but then when they came to Austria, they had to be 14 days in isolation before they could work. And then when they came back from Austria, they had to be 14 days in isolation in Denmark. So basically they used 28 days where they could not work. And you need to consider that as well when you're setting workers abroad. For how long are you doing it, and what are the conditions for them coming back as it is now? But it is a fluid situation. We see things opening more and more. But right now the borders are closed, so everyone is being asked the reason for entering Denmark.
Yes, thank you. One last question, and I think we try to answer it as briefly as possible, even though you could talk a long time about it, is the current state of the construction companies in Denmark, the construction sector.
Very good question. We have that's actually not too bad, in fact, and really sub-suppliers to the construction companies. You should take contact, also keep the contact with the Danish companies, because it's one of the packages is they are moving forward all the public construction and refurbishments in Denmark, to make sure that there's because the construction companies were actually almost at full employment, and so there was a big problem for them. But now that we are increasing the demand from the public side.
Yes. Thank you very much, Jeppe. We'll move on. Maybe there'll be more questions later. Thank you so much for now, and I'll invite Søren Sundstrup from Horslev Industries to appear on our screen. Hello, Søren. You're representing company producing various tendering and processing solution for various industries, but I let you do the introduction yourself and tell us about how you work with international suppliers.
Yeah, it's coming up now. Yes, hello, my name is Søren Sundstrup. I'm the Global Sourcing and Master Planning Manager at Horslev Industries. And I will tell you a little about how we work with our international suppliers. If we take about the company, it was founded in 1973 here in the village Harslev in Denmark, thereby the name, and it has been growing up to until now. And now totally we are 1,100 people worldwide. We have done the growth by buying different companies to our group, and that's why we now can say that we have 100 years experience around the globe, and we design and manufacture and install state-of-the-art solution for producing co-products from meat rendering, fish processing, chicken, and the process of industrial and domestic waste. We are worldwide. We have 4 production sites around the world. Denmark is our main production site. We are 450 people in Denmark, but then we also have a production site in China, in Spain, and in Brazil. And then we have different service hubs for our machines around the world. We have project office, sales office, and you can see here at the screen the different locations where we are within either a service hub, production site, or sales and project offices. What we produce a full range of products that is supporting every step in the process. We have storage equipment, different kinds of bins and silos, transport equipment by screw conveyors, different kinds of pump systems, sizing equipment by grinders, crushers, different kinds of mills. cooking and heating equipment, bath cookers, continuous cookers, and different kinds of other heating equipment. The big dish dryers we have, the biggest one have a weight of 160 tons, so it's quite big equipment, some of it. Then we have drying equipment, dish dryers, hot air dryers, evaporators, belt dryers, etc. Different kind of pressing equipment, screw presses, hog hair, feather presses, cooling equipment by meal coolers, air-cooled condensers, waste food depackers, drum screens, and screw screens. And when you are producing all this and setting it together, it's not smelling quite good. So we have also a full program of odor control with different kinds of thermal oxidizers, condensators, chemical scrubbers, and biofilters. And when you're setting all this together, you can see here a layout of a project where you have, in the start, you have the bins, where the receiving bins, where you put in the material, and then the material go through the processes, and in the end up in different kinds of meal bags. The facts and numbers about us: we have 4 production sites, 1,100 people globally. We have 80,000 square meters of production area. The 37,000 of them is actually in Denmark. We are selling to 120 different countries. And in 2019, the volume of outsourced production of metal components, machine components, different kinds of welded components and machine parts, platforms, bins, tanks, screw conveyors, condensators, etc., was around 14 million euro. And when you look back at that, I started in the company in 2012. At that time, Harslev produced everything by themselves. They only manufactured standard part like gears and motors and this kind of stuff. Everything else they produced in-house. And in order to grow, they decided to start a sourcing program. And now from 2012 and until now, we are sourcing quite a big volume, and it's still growing. And what do we then expect of our suppliers? At Harslev, we expect that our suppliers, they know us. They have tried to learn about us before they go in contact. They visit our website, they seek information, and they try to learn about us. And then we expect that when you contact us, you know where you can contribute. You need to master your processes. If you're all around, you will never be the best in class. And we are looking for the best in class. And you have to be sharp in quality and on-time delivery. And I say it in this direction. Quality and on-time delivery is crucial. If that don't match, prices isn't different. The price doesn't matter. If you don't deliver in the right quality, and if you don't deliver on time, we can't use this company as a supplier. As we are making big projects all over the world, and we are it's very important for us that we deliver on time. We have penalties if we're not delivering on time. It's huge projects up to 200 millions, and a lot of things is depending on that we can get our products on site in time. So if you want to be a supplier for Harslev, it's very important that you deliver in the right quality and you deliver on time. price is always something that you have to negotiate. And then when we are talking about quoting and how to do it, we have been experienced for a very long time when we go out and we are talking about quoting and different kinds of offers with new suppliers. The first quote, they are sandbagging. And to be honest, when you sandbag and then we say, no, this is not working, and then you come back and go 10 or 15% down, then I don't think it's serious. Be sharp on the first quote. That is very important. If not, then you're wasting your own time and you're wasting ours. If you sandbag, you are out before the fun begins. So it's very important that you are clear about where is your target. How low can you go? And it's important that you look into think long cooperation. Harslev, we are thinking long cooperation with our suppliers as it brings the best value. We are not doing one-stop solution with our suppliers. We are trying to get them in and make a partnership with them, and that is the way that we are working. We have a lot of different steel parts for our projects, like all our platforms. They are in different shapes, in different sizes. And what we have agreed with our suppliers is that kind of equipment, we are not looking into that we have to calculate a price every day and every time we have a new object. We have been looking into that. We have been looking backwards and see, now we take 10 or 15 or 20 different platforms. What is the price for it? And then we say, what is then the kilo price for this kind of equipment? And that is the way that we have agreed with our suppliers. We have a fixed kilo price for a certain kind of product, and then they don't have to use time for doing estimations. And sometimes they have a very, very good deal on that exactly platform, and then there's another platform where they make a little less. But when they look at the total volume at the whole year, they have a continuous, very good business. And that is our importance, because if we go so low that you cannot make a business out of it, then we have to get in a new supplier. And getting a new suppliers, that is a big job, and it costs a lot of money, not only for you, but also for us. We have to travel out, we have to inspect you, we have to make a lot of work effort to get the things done in the correct way. So important, be sharp, think quality, think on time solutions, and look at your strengths. It's important that you say and know exactly where are we good, what can we contribute with. That is very, very important. So your goals, that is our solution, and I hope that we can work together. As a side work of this, I have actually been around Estonia a lot of times, and one of the time was exactly together with Estonia Enterprises. I was invited, I think it was in 14 or 15, to Estonia, and I visited around 10 or 15 different metalworking companies, and I had a very good tour and saw a lot of interesting companies. When we come back and we have to get that into to the daily work, and we started to quote, the thing I saw that was that the first quote, there was a lot of sandbagging, and in generally, and I have to say it, compared to our main production site, subcontracting sites, that is Poland, the prices was actually 10 to 15% higher. And that is why actually that we at the moment do not have any sub-suppliers in Estonia. But I saw a lot of interesting companies. I saw a lot of good places, and I still hope that we will be able to create business with Estonian companies again. And yeah, our main, to go back to it, for Denmark, our main subcontracting countries are, of course, the Eastern Europe and the near area around us, because we need to have short delivery time. We are not looking for China. We are not looking for Asia or India or anything else. For the Danish production and the Danish factory that is having more than 50% of our total turnover, we are looking into our near countries to support us. So there's a big possibility and a big chance for you to be a supplier for us, but you have to be sharp and you have to be good in quality. And I'm looking forward to see and hear from you. Thank you very much.
Very, very good. Thank you so much, Søren. That was exactly what we needed, to the point, and some good tips and recommendations how to become successful on the Danish market, or at least if wanting to work with Harslev. But I think it goes for many of the other Danish companies too. A concrete question about if you had to, during the Corona time and current restriction, change your ways of recruiting new suppliers, visiting them, doing inspections and stuff like that. Have you already been forced to deal with these things in a different way?
Yeah, for sure. We are at Harslev. We have taken a hit by the Corona crisis. The most of our exports, the most of our business is mainly far away from Denmark. And a lot of our suppliers, we cannot visit them. We cannot inspect the material. The most of them, they are actually been able to produce all the time. And we are doing that, and we are shipping the material to the sites around the world. We have a problem right now that we cannot get out, building up the different and install the different projects. So of course we are hit, and there will be a lot of things that will be postponed to later this year and next year. And we have, now that we cannot get out, visit our suppliers. Normally we will always be out on a continuously basis to visit our suppliers, inspect some of the goods, and look at different possibilities. As it is right now, everything is on remote. We do it from our home and from our offices in Denmark. And as Jeppe Falk said, it's about IT and homework offices. I can only say in Harslev we had a huge success. The day that Denmark shut down, we shifted 140 office workers, engineers, and everything, sent them home with their equipment, and the day after we were fully functional and working with 140 people from home. And then we learned to use Skype and Teams and different kinds of channels to communicate, and it was a huge success. And it for sure that will change the way of working for our company in the future.
Very well. That's good to hear as well. That it's easier for making connections internationally.
Yeah.
Last question, I'll bring it up as well. From what fields are you looking for suppliers? Of course, we talked about manufacturing, production, also engineering work.
Right now, no, we are not looking for engineering. It's manufacturing.
Mainly manufacturing.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have decided to keep the engineering in-house, to keep the knowledge. We are doing the assembly of all the machines in-house. So it's what we are putting out is semi-finished products that we are using in our machine, and of course things that is a kind of commodity, tanks and platforms and things like that is going directly from the supplier to the site.
Very well. Okay, thank you so much for your input, Søren.
You're welcome.
We'll see if there are more questions coming in later.
Yeah.
We're going to move on. We are over time, but I think it doesn't matter because this is so interesting, and I can also see everyone hanging here. No one's leaving the session, so that means it's interesting. I will then invite our last speaker, Hans Olof Pedersen from Alfa Laval. If you could start sharing your screen and video. Hello,
Yes.
welcome.
Hello.
And I'm afraid maybe your colleague Ronnie won't be able to join us as we had another meeting.
I will take his
I'm
part.
very sorry about this overtime. But
All right. First of all, Lucie, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk a little about Alfa Laval and our experience in sourcing, particular in Estonia. So I'll just give a brief introduction to our company, Alfa Laval. I am sure that most of the people attending this seminar, they are at least a little familiar with the name of Alfa Laval. I am not going to introduce you to the complete product range because we have over 1,000 products in the portfolio, ranking over from decanters, separators, ballast water treatment, all kinds of heat exchange equipment, from small waste heat exchangers that can fit into a shoebox up to a unit of 700 or 800 tons. So we really have a wide range of products serving a lot of different markets, and I don't want to go into those as well, but this is actually part of the strength of Alfa Laval, that we are serving so many industries that even in hard times, as we see right now, we see a major down in oil and gas and shipbuilding contracting. But then again, we are in other areas like food and beverage, like biotech, pharmaceutical equipment, biofuels, environmental manufacturing things. So in that sense, the balance between markets and the balance between products and the balance between our presence in various regions makes us a little, let's say, less vulnerable facing these hard times. We are a global company. We are employing approximately 17,500 people. And last year we had a turnover of 4.3 billion euro. We are located all over the world with approximately 40 production units. Besides that, we have a lot of service centers, distribution centers, and of course we have a lot of local sales channels. And with the fear of just copying what has been told by Bo and by Søren, that we pride ourselves of having a very high brand value, and that of course affects our choice of suppliers as well. That we are, some people might find us really demanding, coming to choice of supplier and coming to the demand of the services that we expect the suppliers to provide towards Alfa Laval. But we are not in any way compromising our brand or compromising our product quality, no matter where in the world we are purchasing and producing. So of course, accurate deliveries, that's mandatory. As also Søren highlighted, that pricing is one thing, but if you cannot deliver on time, you are jeopardizing our production and you are jeopardizing our delivery time towards our clients. So delivery on time and quality, that is simply, let's say, two cornerstones of our demand towards the suppliers, no matter what service they are providing us. Price, you can always, if you want to agree on price, you can always agree on a price that will suit both parties. Purchase and sourcing is part of what we call operations, where we have the purchasing, we have the manufacturing, and we have the distribution, the logistics. Our sourcing organization, we are within 3 divisions: food and water, energy, and marine. And our purchase is divided into various commodity groups, commodity 1 to 6, whereas commodity 3, as we call it, that is subcontracting. And looking at Estonia specifically, it is mainly subcontracting that we are looking for, looking into Estonian as one of our markets. We have the commodity groups here, and main focus will be on machining, forming, and fabrication, where we see Estonia as suitable towards Alfa Laval. I must say that even though we are a global company, we are very present in let's say, in areas close to Estonia. We have large manufacturing units in Sweden, in Lund, in Ronneby, in Eskilstuna. We have large production facilities in Denmark, in Kolding and Aalborg. We have facilities in Poland, in Krakow. We have major facilities in Bergen as well. So even though we are a very global company, we have a very solid production base in Scandinavia and in Northern Europe, suitable for Estonian companies to provide services towards Alfa Laval. These figures speak for themselves why sourcing is so important. Our spend on sourcing is probably more than 1.3 billion euro. I would say 1.5 billion euro. We have far too many suppliers, over 4,500. It might be 5,000. So part of our let's say ambitions, looking also into new markets, is to find suppliers that can cover a wider range of products and services towards Alfa Laval. So instead of jumping around between a lot of different suppliers providing one single product, one single service, one single item, we are looking into suppliers that can provide a wider scope of products and especially subcontracted items, so that we can minimize our assembling as much as possible, and we can minimize the number of suppliers, because each supplier creates a lot of work. We have to monitor, we have to audit, we have to update, we have to maintain a lot of data and a lot of experience between supply and Alfa Laval. So our ambition is actually to halve our number of suppliers, well knowing that that might be a little too overambitious a target. The opportunities of becoming a supplier or a key supplier towards Alfa Laval, our offers towards the suppliers is that we are not jumping around from one supplier to another, taking in a supplier for 1 year and then leaving them the next year. We are always aiming a long-term cooperation with our suppliers. We give our suppliers access to what we call the marketplace, the global marketplace of 1.3, 1.5 billion euro. And even though I highlighted that we are very strong in the Scandinavian region, we have seen a lot of cases where our, let's say, Scandinavian-based suppliers are supplying to sites like in the US or even in the Far East. So there is a lot of opportunities within the world of Alfa Laval. We have a lot of buying units, 65, I said 42 last in the last slide, but it's approximately these 60 buying units, because it includes also smaller assembly plants all over the world. As for Søren from Hasle, we are keeping our research, development, engineering in-house. But of course, we are used to drag in our subcontractors into our engineering work as well. So you will get access to a lot of, let's say, applications, products, processes, and new developments. And you will be part of, let's say, the Alfa Laval world. Once again, we think of ourselves as a company with a high brand value, and supplying to Alfa Laval is that normally is a good point for our subcontractors, because we are known for, let's say, having rather high demands towards our supply chain. No big secret: quality, delivery, and cost. Whereas quality is considered mandatory. We just have one quality, and that is the best. Delivery on time, we are as we are very dependable on subcontracting, because our main production facilities are based on assembling of semi-fabricated parts coming in-house. We are very dependable on delivery on time, and we are measuring that really tough. The cost, of course, should be in. We will purchase at the right price at any time, but we have to consider quality and delivery as two main issues coming to choice of supplier. We are not, as we are looking at our suppliers on long term, we are not only looking at, let's say, the entry price or what is going on for the coming quarter. We are looking into a long-term relationship, and by that we are together with the supplier, the subcontractor, focusing on a lot of different ways of improving our mutual cooperation, looking into production systems, processes, how to reduce waste, how to reduce the defects and claims, because a claim from our subcontractor will always jeopardize our production. We are seeing at the supplier's investment ratio. We are looking into the raw material supply chain, because Alfa Laval products are very, let's say, heavy on raw material, on stainless steel and carbon steel. We have a direct and indirect purchase of approximately 100,000 tons of raw material. So we are at any time all over the world monitoring the raw material price development, and also helping our subcontractors either make use of Alfa Laval contracts towards the raw material suppliers, or helping them in negotiating with the raw material suppliers towards the subcontractors. So we are looking into the complete supply chain, including logistics that might be both external and internal logistics, to optimize the complete, let's say, supply chain, also the internal supply chain within the subcontractor, to optimize for mutual benefit. So we are, let's say, not sitting on each side of the table, but let's say sitting on the same side of the table, trying to optimize all the complete supply chain, all facilities. Besides what I have been highlighting, it is crucial for our subcontractors that they are compliant with our business principles, that if needed, and I don't see that in this forum that is needed, the black and gray list over chemicals and other bad stuff. It's mandatory that our subcontractors, they have some kind of environmental management system, ISO or similar, and that we are making up, or we are setting up fixed agreements, preferable long-term 3 or 5 years, including our general conditions of purchase. But then again, we will at any time offer long-term relationship, access to a wide range of markets, and access to a wide range of products. Then I would like, just very briefly, specifically, if I can find it. A little on sourcing in Estonia, briefly. We are far over time, sorry. We decided some years ago, 5-6 years ago, that we would look into the Baltic area as a new, let's say, region for our supply towards especially the Scandinavian factories. And for that purpose, we have been visiting Estonia quite some times, looking into suppliers, visiting suppliers. And during the last couple of years, we have now gained cooperation with 7 Estonian companies. And we have had a turnover year to date with these 7 companies of 1.3 million euro. coming from zero just 3 or 4 years ago. We see Estonia as a very interesting company. The salary cap is very competitive, as we see it at least. The material prices, I highlighted that we are very heavy on material and the material pricing. It's very much similar to the Scandinavian price level, a little below coming to carbon steel. Many Estonian companies are using the same base of raw material suppliers as we are using within Alfa Laval. Also a benefit in that sense. We can, English is a common language, making it very easy to communicate. The education has a high skilled population. The infrastructure is quite good. The logistics, the access to export logistics is very good. And not at least the mindset of Estonians are very much as to the Scandinavian Western mindset, making it, let's say, very easy to create a very, let's say, competitive environment. We have learned that Estonia, or the Estonian subcontractors, are mainly based on steel structures, pressure vessels, partly offshore, and all kinds of sheet metal forming. And all these areas are within the range of what we need within Alfa Laval. So looking both at, let's say, our general demands and requirements towards the suppliers, and specifically the Estonian, there is, let's say, I wouldn't say an easy match, but there's a good match between Estonian suppliers and the Alfa Laval overall demand and requirements. So that is briefly a little on Alfa Laval, on our sourcing, our demand, our requirements, and also a little on experience with Estonian companies.
Thank you very much. To all of you out there, I can tell you that Søren and Hans Oluf, they have not coordinated their slides or what they're going to say. But still, there was quite a big overlap. So what we learned is that the quality and time, delivery on time are the top factors in succeeding. And I think so this is something we can generalize for the Danish market or the Danish companies as such. Well, let me say, this was our last presentation. Hans Oluf, if you could take down your presentation,
yeah,
I'll put up some more slides.
I'm trying to, but how to?
Just stop sharing at the top.
Yeah, but I'm trying to maximize the picture. Here we are. Just a moment. Have I stopped sharing?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
But I have prepared a few slides myself as well, knowing that most likely we won't have time for it. But this again will be information that later on will be made available to everyone to download. So my part is about how to find potential partners very concretely. When you start looking into the Danish market, where to identify your companies, Danish companies. So you can look at different business databases, of course. There are a few ones that are for free. Some more ones are payable ones. I can also recommend various trade associations. The Danish market is characterized by a high volume of organization into different associations or unions. So you probably find trade association for any subsector you're looking at. I have also put up various different links, industry links. And you can also look at trade fairs, which might be not relevant right now to attend, but hopefully in a few months' time, everything start opening up again. So trade fairs are a good place to come and visit, to network. And I would highly recommend also actually from home, from your computer, just look at the list of exhibitors to see who are the main players and what the potential who the potential cooperation partners would be. I have also put up a few lines about how to enter the market, what to be aware of, what to do, what not to do, very concretely when start reaching out to Danish companies. But if you have more questions, need to know more, please feel free to contact me anytime. I'm here to support you. I can provide light servicing in the form of market entry guidance, providing list of potential partners. And we also have a much deeper service, export partner search, and I can help you to reach out to Danish companies. I can see if we have a few, oops, it's a little bit difficult for me to actually see the questions when I have the slides up. So I'm not completely sure if we have some more questions. Let me check. Probably not. Yeah, we also took an hour and a half. So thank you very much. You will shortly receive a link with an email with link to the presentation. And afterwards, if you have more questions to myself or anyone else of our speakers, please get back to us, and we'll try our best to help. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.